How do we get from a seascape to a baby hugging a clown? The link isn't the art, but it's the artist, Constable, for years excluded from the Royal Academy, to sculptor Cathie Pilkington, who this year was elected Keeper of the Royal Academy Schools. That's the artist who's responsible for the art school itself. This is good news because she's brilliant in all sorts of ways. Her art is varied, often a mix of found and made materials. She says she's interested in a doll's head as much as a piece of classical sculpture. So her work looks at the value we place in things, in objects, what gives them emotional importance to us. What can objects mean to us even when they're not what she calls chin-rubbing artworks? Her studio in London's Bethnal Green looks like a funfair rigged up in Steptoe's yard. Some of the work would appeal to fans of the Tim Burton movies or those who grew up with the Ladybird books in the 70s. Some of them are bawdy. A favourite of mine is this shaking, squatting dog. And some are like dripping tar, others like clotted paint, full of sexual and comic energy, which are the two best kinds of energy, if you ask me. Now, out of all these beauties, I've picked a piece called Surrogate. I think it's so important because it freezes in time an event that has shaped all of our lives, one that was cruel and remarkable in equal measure. So if you don't know the story that inspired this piece, just take a chance to look at it for a second and think about what it says to you. Here's what my pals have said. It's a monkey clinging to a weird, creepy panda. It's desperate, it's sad, it's scared. The monkey's us, clinging to something manufactured, so it's a metaphor for capitalism. It's amazing what you can see in it, isn't it? In fact, it's inspired by the work of scientist Harry Harlow, who studied love and almost certainly changed your life as a result. Let me tell you why. It'll only take a couple of moments. Harlow wanted to answer the questions, what is love and what is it for? In the 50s, people assumed babies were born with instincts, and the most basic of those is to eat and survive. Therefore, it follows that we develop attachment towards whoever is feeding us. That the feeling of love exists to reinforce our bond, essentially with what will keep us alive. In 1958, psychologist Harry Harlow set out to see if this was true, using baby monkeys and two really simple dolls, the surrogates. One, a wire rack with a nipple, gave food. The other, like the one we see in Pilkington's sculpture, was just a cloth wrapped around a frame, but it would offer comfort. The theory was that the baby monkeys separated from their real mothers would attach to the surrogate that offered food. And while they did feed, it was purely functional. The babies, in fact, clung to the soft surrogates for up to 18 hours a day. So touch had a greater purpose than people had realised. Harlow then took it up a notch. He introduced fear, a monster that appeared and startled the baby, straight to the cloth surrogate. And this is the fear and desperation that's captured in Pilkington's monkey. So the piece is about our needs, our basic instincts, our blind faith, how ridiculous where we find comfort, how vulnerable we are. So Harlow's work showed us how much we need our parents' touch. And because of this experiment, hospital-born babies were no longer separated from their mothers, but placed physically close to them. And that includes me. And if you're under 60, it includes you. I won't go into too much detail here, but after his success, Harlow's world span around. His wife died of cancer. He became really depressed. Mentally, he entered what he called the pit of despair. And thinking that it would help us understand depression in the 70s, he moved away from looking at our need for affection to looking at the effects of a lack of it. He put new and infant baby monkeys in total isolation for up to a year. Some in hugely restrictive spaces called the Well of Despair. If you want to Google it, be my guest, but I'm telling you, it does not make for a good night's sleep. But once you know about it, when you then look back at Pilkington's sculpture, you wonder, well, who is the desperate one here? Harlow or his monkey? God or man? Pilkington makes her pieces as standalone sculptures, but they're often grouped together for installations. I think of her as a musician with a bunch of songs deciding what to play at a gig. Or as Pilkington herself says, it's like she's getting ingredients together for a meal. Now, although made in 2007, Surrogate was part of an installation called Harmonium 7 years later. Pieces that had disturbing stories to tell. Works that have dark, emotional and psychological undertones. No shit. So much more than just a monkey hanging onto a weird, creepy panda, right? And where the hell is this going to send us next? Not up to me. Cathie herself has recommended the piece that's going to link to her. See you next time.